The origins of Russia, a summary with the map. Let's see what this video is about. Let's see how historically accurate is the video. I've never actually seen this channel before, Geohistory. First time, so I'm really curious and I really hope it's a great channel.
During the 9th century, Scandinavia in northern Europe is populated by, among others, the Vikings, excellent sailors who explore in all directions to plunder, but also to develop trade routes. To the south is the powerful Byzantine Empire, with its capital, Constantinople, an important commercial crossroads between East and West. The city is attractive and interests some Vikings, also known as the Varangians.
Who can spot the inaccuracy? He said Varangians or Vikings are the same thing. That's not true. Varangians were royal guards of the Byzantine emperor, and the Varangians could have been Vikings, they could have been Slavs, they could have been Anglo-Saxons, and what I mean by could is the fact that they were historically from various locations. They were essentially mercenaries hired by the emperor. They were not Byzantines or Romans, because they did call themselves Romans back then.
In Constantinople, they sell mainly furs, honey, and slaves captured along the way. The trade route develops rapidly, attracting many Varangian settlers who go founding fortified trading posts.
I'm sorry, I just don't like historical inaccuracies. Attracting many Varangian settlers. Once more, he's using the wrong word. It's not Varangian settlers, because Varangians were not a people. Varangians were simply the royal guards of the Byzantine emperor. He's talking about Vikings that settled along the Dnieper River, which afterwards mixed in with the Slavs and created Kievan Rus. But it's not Varangian, it's Norse people.
Go founding fortified trading posts. One of them, called Rurik, is said to have founded the Principality of Novgorod, becoming the first of a very long Rurik dynasty. In 882, his heir Oleg leaves with an army and conquers Smolensk and Kiev. He then founds the Kievan Rus, of which he becomes prince.
Not gonna lie, the video so far is pretty fucking accurate. Like, aside from the terms and shit, it's actually pretty accurate.
After his baptism and wedding, Christianity of the Byzantine Rite becomes the official religion of the Kievan Rus under the authority of the Patriarch of Constantinople, Yaroslav, who has many sons, fears a new fratricidal war after his death. He then decides to divide the Kievan Rus into several principalities. This new rotating power-sharing agreement will be the root cause for several generations' numerous internal wars that will exhaust and divide the Kievan Rus. In Western Europe, the Catholic religion is more and more on the offensive. The Pope launches the Baltic Crusades, intended to convert the pagan peoples around the Baltic Sea. Germans arrive in Riga and begin their conquest. At the same time, a fourth crusade initially sent to the Holy Land is diverted to Constantinople. The city is besieged and then pillaged.
Those motherfuckers taking over honest Byzantine lands. Bastards.
More than 5,000 kilometers away, in Karakorum, the capital of the Mongol Empire, the Ogadai Khan, the heir of Genghis Khan, starts new conquests. An army mainly composed of Tartars, that is, another tribe subjected to the Mongols, is heading for the Russian steppes. On their way, they spread terror by razing cities that refuse to submit. The Russian principalities, already divided and weakened, do not resist. The Russian principalities find themselves subjected to the Golden Horde. The Tartars thus control the Russian territories from a distance without interfering in domestic politics. Only a tribute is imposed on the principalities. In the heart of the Russian principalities is the young Muscovy. Quite well insulated from external threats, it attracts and develops rapidly, to the point that in 1325, Moscow becomes the new capital of the Grand Prince and the Metropolitan. In the west, the Lithuanian pagans, who still resist Teutonic state expansion, conquer the territories of the former Kievan Rus.
It says here, the Mongol Empire existed in 1364. It didn't. It was broken up. Actually, in 1362/1363, there was a big battle here. And we're already in 1364, and they don't have this land here. And they had this land here after 1363, after the Battle of the Blue Waters between the Great Horde, not the Mongol Empire, and Lithuania. My day is ruined. My disappointment is immeasurable. I cannot enjoy the video anymore with this amount of inaccuracy. All right, let's just continue. I'm just very picky, but it's, you know, it's fucking important. Like, you had Crimea, Great Horde in 1362. You know, the land disposition between Muscovy and Novgorod is not really accurate. The shape of Poland's not accurate. The shape of Crimea is not accurate either. It's a few inaccuracies.
The city would later be called the Third Rome. After annexing Novgorod, the army of Ivan III goes to meet the Tartar army. The two armies face each other on the two sides of the Ugra River and then withdraw without a fight. Muscovy is freed from the Tartar yoke and won't pay any more tribute. When Vasily III dies, his successor Ivan is only 3 years old.
For a channel that makes history videos, you know, maps are really very important. And having inaccurate maps is really annoying.
Ivan's mother then takes the reins of the country, but 5 years later she dies mysteriously. Ivan is convinced that she was murdered by boyars, which makes him suspicious and cruel. In 1547, he's crowned Tsar of all the Russias. The word Tsar comes from the Latin Caesar.
The word Tsar comes from the Latin Caesar. The word Kaiser also comes from the Latin Caesar. Everybody wanted to be the new fucking Caesar.
All the people are now in unconditional service of Ivan the Terrible. He resumes the conquests and seizes the Muslim Khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan. In the south, despite numerous deadly raids coming from the Crimean Khanate, Ivan decides not to counterattack because Crimea is a vassal of the powerful Ottoman Empire. In trouble and increasingly paranoid, Ivan the Terrible sets up a regime of terror. He kills the Metropolitan, razes Novgorod, and his madness even leads him to kill his own heir son. In the east, the Stroganov family finances expeditions led by Cossacks, that is to say, mercenary and warlike explorers in charge of colonizing new territories further east. With no great natural obstacles or resistance, they moved quickly and found outposts along the rivers. The last son of Ivan the Terrible, Dmitry Ivanovich, mysteriously dies at the age of 8. The Rurik dynasty extinguishes after 7 centuries of reign. Boris Godunov is elected Tsar, but he quickly finds himself in trouble from one of the worst famines in the history of the country. To try to increase food production, he reinforces the serfdom of the peasants by forbidding them to leave the lands of their lords. Suddenly, a young monk named Grigory Atorpiev flees his monastery and goes to Kiev. There, he claims to be Dmitry Ivanovich, the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible, who was supposed to have died 12 years earlier. The impostor is received by the King of Poland, to whom he asks for help in seizing the Russian throne. He then obtains enough money to form a small army, mainly composed of Cossacks. In Russia, he quickly gains the support of the people. In Moscow, Boris Godunov dies suddenly. The false Dmitry enters the city and becomes Tsar. But soon the boyars accuse him of being too Western-oriented. He is then assassinated, and his ashes are shot from a cannon in the direction of Poland.
No shit's real when somebody shoots your ashes from a fucking cannon. Holy fuck.
A second false Dmitry makes the village of Tushino at the gates of Moscow his capital. Unable to neutralize him, Moscow makes an alliance with Sweden, which causes Poland to enter the war. The latter dominates, and the Polish prince obtains the title of Tsar, being supported by the boyars who want to regain a balance. Sweden then turns against Russia, while the whole country rises against the new Tsar. In difficulty, the Poles completely burn Moscow down, and after a siege, are driven out of the city. Delegates of the Russian cities then meet to elect a new Tsar. Mikhail Romanov, from an old boyar family, is chosen. He is the first of a new, very long dynasty, but he inherits a ruined and devastated country. Everything will have to be rebuilt, while the Polish and Swedish armies are still present.
I have to say the video is pretty good. Compared to most videos I've seen on the internet, historical themed videos, pretty fucking good by comparison to most of them.